and now we are on to atheism. This obviously isn't a religion, but it's pretty close. Not if you ask them, but some of them, they sound like religious people when they talk, and they're as indoctrinated as any religious person. So sometimes.
What is it?
Atheism.
Atheism. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
atheism. There's different kinds of atheists too. They kind of break themselves up into different categories, at least if they've studied their own doctrine. Agnostic atheists versus atheists and things like that. Whereas an agnostic is like, I'm not really sure. The evidence doesn't really point me to any direction, and I don't believe. An agnostic will say, well, I don't really think there's any way to prove any of this, so what's the point? Why bother? Whereas a regular, full-on atheist would just say, I believe there is no God. They would not say, I don't believe in God. They would say, I believe there's no God. I don't know why that's important. It sounds like the same statement two different ways. But I think what happens is they like to argue with people online, so some snickery little young Christian will just say, you don't believe in who? God. Oh, okay, it's God you don't believe in, but you're affirming that there's God and you just don't believe in him. And that probably happened to them, so... And that's just immature. Like, don't do that to people. So now they say it very specifically, I believe there is no God. So they make a positive statement that there is not a God. So, we know what they meant. We know what they mean. That's the point. But I think that's great. You take it back to, do we believe in God? Why? I think there's great reasons to believe in God, mostly in cause and effect, in that the universe has a beginning, and there must be something that caused that beginning, an uncaused cause of the universe. Something that wasn't made into being, causing everything that was created, or put into existence, right? So it has to be something of a different type of material than what we have in the created universe, or the universe that had a beginning and a cause. We also have precise conditions that allow life in the universe, like dozens of quantities in physics, such as the universe's rate of expansion, the strength of gravity, the conditions for star formation, and dozens more, things that are the fine-tuning Goldilocks type ideas. And atheists will agree on this precision, even like Dr. Hawking. They agree so much that some of them will even say we live in a simulation. And by simulation, we mean like an alien made a computer and we're in that computer. Or we're in a futuristic computer or something like that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, famous astronomer, right, says it's a 50-50 that possibility that we're in a simulation. And these are based on different laws of physics and things. But the problem is, they're taking the same evidence and coming to the same conclusion that we did, that somebody more intelligent created us. It's just that their conclusion is that it's an alien or some future people, or I don't know what the heck, how you could somehow believe something so crazy. But we believe it's God. So, whatever you think is more rational, I guess. I think it's kind of crazy to think that we're in a computer, and I feel pretty real to be a computer. Or I don't know what other kind of simulation you could possibly come up with to think that we are in. But this is not that uncommon in the atheist community. It's out there. It's not something that most of them believe, only some, but it's out there. I'd say the most popular atheist belief as of now is that everything came from nothing. That nothing created everything. The issue is they're agreeing with what the Bible says there. We believe that everything came from nothing too. It's just that God made everything from nothing. Right? That there was an intelligence with a meaning and purpose that started everything being created out of nothing. See, they actually agree with us. It's just we have just a little extra belief that, hey, there's a little more to that nothing had some help. Nothing doesn't just do anything because it's nothing. There are some physics theories that you could pop some atoms into existence out of nothing. That if you make a vacuum, you can actually get some tiny little parts of material that kind of sporadically come into existence, but they're not stable. They just kind of like, It's almost like white noise in a vacuum. But the problem is that you need a vacuum to do that. And nothing is not a vacuum. A vacuum is a vacuum. And a vacuum exists within matter and space and time, and nothing does not exist within matter and space and time. And so again, it's just a really, just not a good answer. They don't have answers. They have theories that they like to lean on that don't, that you just keep moving backwards. It's like, okay, let's say we're in a simulation, but who made the creator of our simulation? If it's an alien or a futuristic being, like who made them? How'd they come into existence? And like all they're doing is kicking the rock a little further down the road, but eventually that rock always leads to God. You know, you could say, okay, there's a vacuum, but the vacuum that we know exists within time, space, and matter. You're talking about a vacuum outside of time, space, and matter, and how did that get there? And how did the properties to create anything, do you think of properties that make a vacuum, makes a little bit of fizzy, little atomic particles within there? Where did that come from? And you're just kicking the rock further down the road. There's no way that for them to ever reach an actual answer beyond you got to hit God eventually. I think there's other great points for intelligent design, like the coding like DNA. A lot of intelligence behind DNA. Irreducible complexity in cells. And our observations tell us that order comes from an intelligent designer. And there's other great reasons, like objective morality. You know, if you believe in justice and morality, there's objectives rather than subjective points. You know, we believe in right and wrong and that they're universal principles and that they're universal for a reason, that somebody has to determine what's universal and why it's within us to have those moral principles. These arguments are things that a lot of atheists, at least your non-agnostic ones, the more rigid atheists, the ones that have actually studied their doctrine, have heard a lot of this stuff. So if you're going to have a discussion with any of them, you kind of want to get to the root of why they believe what they believe and tailor your discussion to that, and also see if there's emotional reasons. Because some people are atheists, some people you read that just say, oh, I don't believe in God. Sometimes it's not any of this. It's just sometimes it's an emotional reason. Like they had a child die, you know, or the problem of evil. A lot of them have a problem with evil. Why does evil exist? And you got to have answers for that. You know, that free will has to, you know, it's about love. There's evil in the world because God's given us free will. And we can't love unless love is a hard decision to make. So we have to have, in order to test us in love, and guess what? God, they say God could make a perfect universe. Couldn't he? Like, yeah, that's called heaven. We're going there pretty soon. It doesn't take long to get there. Life's pretty short, you know? But here we're testing if we want to be with God in heaven. I mean, if we want to choose love for this short time in our life, we have a hard life to make choices that are rooted in love. And that's why life is hard, and that's why evil exists, and that's why natural disasters exist, and that's why people go through hardship and bad things happen to good people, because everybody needs to be tested. Everybody is tested in love to see if you get to be with God forever, if you make the choice in love to be with God. It's all about choices, and it's about love, and hardship and evil exist because it's testing our resolve for love. And you know, that's then they, you know, sometimes that segues into heaven and hell. What about if it's all about going to heaven? What about hell? Like, people are just gonna be tortured forever? That's not fair. God made us and then sends people to hell because they don't believe in Jesus. And it's like, no. Hell is a place separated from God. Like, if you want to live like hell, separated from God, or if you want to live like heaven with God, you get to just continue as such because that's your free will choice. That's what heaven and hell are. Separation or being with God. It's living in his light and presence or living outside of his light and presence. And here's the thing. This is, I would say, the big key when it comes to discussing hell with anyone. Nobody's going to go to hell and think they got ripped off. God is just. Everybody in hell is going to go to hell and say, oh, I got exactly what I deserve. Nobody in hell is like, oh, I didn't deserve this. I don't want to be here. It's like, no. They're going to hell, and they're going to get exactly what they deserve, and they're going to agree that they're getting exactly what they deserve. And nobody's going to think they got ripped off. Nobody in the afterlife is going to say, justice wasn't served here, I got a bad deal. Doesn't happen. God is just. Everybody gets what they deserve. Everyone's going to agree that everyone got what they deserved. The only difference is you can actually get better than what you deserved if you want to follow Jesus. That's the only difference. You can get what you deserve, or Jesus can get what you deserve and you can get something better. Those are your options.